considering that the
Yeah.
last time we saw her, she was napping. Because for us, it's like final.
That's a
Actually,
good
final
point.
starts tomorrow for us, David.
Oh
Which,
wow.
Yeah.
which is pretty funny. But I thought, hey, we can get in the interview like right before the hits the fan for us.
Right.
Wait, so is today Dead Day, so to
Today
speak?
today is Dead
Yes.
Day.
How wonderful.
And we have this thing called Dead Day where there are no classes in anticipation for finals. It's like in Game of Thrones where
Oh
they just
sure.
stand there waiting for winter to come.
Oh, speaking of, don't spoil it.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I
no,
didn't see this weekend's episode.
okay.
I missed it.
It's no spoilers because we're
I
definitely
don't
gonna touch on
watch
those
the-
Game of Thrones spoilers in today's podcast.
Definitely.
Do you watch Game of Thrones, David?
I do not.
See, all the more reason you can't spoil it for him.
Oh,
What if he
right.
decides to go watch it?
I don't have HBO.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Development Club at San Jose State's podcast, episode number 21. Keeping the guest train rolling here. This week we have acclaimed food aficionado, even though he apparently didn't know what some of the stuff was when he made the game, and developer of Cooks of Delicious 1 and 2, and a couple of other PC games that I think you released in a bundle on Steam. It's David Galindo.
Oh,
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. Very.
Hey. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as a bit of context, we actually did do an interview with you. Ooh, that was I think a year and a half ago, maybe. And that was back when I think CSD2 had like just released, or had released maybe like a month or so ago after that. So we thought we'd bring
Okay.
you on the podcast since we also made the podcast since then.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, it's I just had pho for the first time. It was
Oh,
delicious.
really? Was that today?
Yeah, I just came from a restaurant. My friend took me, him and his girlfriend, and it was amazing. I've never had it before. and-
Okay, wait. Williams, William or Andrew, can you scream at Lily and text her to get in this call?
Yeah, I could. I think I have.
do I remember?
It was, it's pretty funny. Like I remember at GDC you were like, yeah, some of the foods. So it's good that you're trying some of them, but hilariously, today we also went and got okonomiyaki.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah. So on the docket today, I find why I put it in my notepad. Here we go. So we have a recurring segment. Of course, we haven't done this one in a while. Actually, it's what have you been working on? Obviously, being a game development podcast, a couple of us are working on games. You can tell us what you've been doing and stuff. We'll probably do the same. Writing in games, techniques that you use to tell stories and whatnot. Mechanics that you love that are part of games that are not very successful. I think Andrew was actually the one that suggested that one. We should probably introduce ourselves, considering David has absolutely no idea who any of us are.
That
for-
is a really good point.
okay. So I'm Carlo. I'm the
I'm William.
What do you do, Carlo?
I'm the social media officer for the club currently. I'm primarily a programmer.
Awesome.
Okay, William, go.
I'm William. I'm a student. I was just elected the streaming officer, kind of taking over for Carlo in the coming year. Yeah, I'm pretty much a programmer.
So I guess this is a call of many programmers. Is what it's feeling like.
Yeah.
So I'm Andrew. I am the former president of the club now. It's now actually been 3 election cycles as of like last week. And I am currently an indie dev working on a game called Audio Zoe. And I program.
So I'm like, oh, we need to get Lily, we need an artist in here.
So Lily just got back to me. She can't make it.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right, so, I guess because I just kind of asked the question before we started. David, what have you been working on since
Well,
Yeah, I guess less than a week.
since GDC, I've been working on the ports for Cooks Are Delicious 2 on Switch and Xbox. And that was interesting. I had not worked on those platforms before, and boy, I PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch have very unique challenges. I'll put it that way, in the friendliest way possible, because it's equal parts frustrating and crazy to me,
Isn't
because I am getting in on the console cycle at the very end, so everything's very um very it's I'm on like the third generation of tool sets for all these systems. They're all there have been a lot of games released for all three systems, so it's nice to go into an environment where Sony, Nintendo, and Xbox have Microsoft have thought of everything. There's so many guides, so many forum posts I can search, um, and that's interesting. And yet it feels like excuse me. Sometimes it just feels like I'm running into these issues that no one has ever seen before. So it's very weird.
You're
But
using
yeah,
you're using GameMaker 2, right?
yes, Game Maker Studio 2,
So
which
that
has a smaller development group than most like Unity and stuff.
I was actually because that got the Switch port, or that got a port to Switch pretty recently, didn't it? Or was it?
Yes, it has not been the Switch version for Game Maker Studio. I came in right at the beta. So I was not in the initial group of first games that were released. I think that was like Nidhogg and Crashlands. But I think I was like in the second wave of games. So it's pretty fairly early in Game Maker Studio development, and but it was still very easy and a lot of fun. Like the vibrating HD rumble was really cool to do.
Oh, so I'm actually curious because I have been tempted to get it on Switch. Like this is how you sell me on this. Um, I mostly because I've gotten so good at the keyboard controls that I don't think I could go the controller. But you added touchscreen support, and so could you explain how you made Cooks Delicious touchscreen compatible, and then how you did HD Rumble?
So the touchscreen was a last minute thing, and I wasn't able to add the menu support. So you can use the touchscreen in game, um, and that basically just simulates a mouse press. So when you're tapping on the screen, the game is fooled into thinking I'm just a mouse cursor, touching the screen, and that has its pros and cons. And I had to make the button bound the boxes, the visual, the area that you have to touch to make the boxes go, bigger than what they appear on screen, so it felt more natural. So it feels good, but at the same time, I wish I had time to do menu support and everything for touch. But all of the elements are just a little too small to support that. Um, and Yeah, that was a fun thing to do. The HD Rumble was really interesting because at first I just used the Rumble that I already had programmed for PlayStation on Switch, and it was terrible. And it just sounded loud and obnoxious. And I've played Switch games where the Rumble is just extremely loud and so loud that all you can hear is the vibration and not the game so much. It's very strange. And I realized that if you have HD Rumble where you can feel everything, then the regular Rumble is SD Rumble in a way. That's like the built-in Rumble that you don't make HD. That just sounds so bad. So I had to put in the time to kind of make sounds in the HD Rumble environment. I had to use command line stuff, which I'm always never comfortable with. But it worked out really well. I'm really happy with the results.
All right, and all of the content on the Switch version is pretty much identical to the PC versus the update and all.
It is, yeah. I updated the PC with a very last patch, and then with that patch, I distributed it to consoles, so everything is equalized. There are a few console-specific things that I had to add that were mainly OS in nature. Like Xbox, you have to pick a profile on the save screen, and with Nintendo, you have to pick certain controllers. You have to bring up the controller menu, and so yeah. Not, aside from that, it's all 100% identical.
Out of curiosity, what would you say is? You mentioned that there were challenges with console, and I know that you're trying to be diplomatic about it. I can kind of tell. The thing I'm kind of wondering is, were they more challenges for you as a programmer, or were they more like human challenges with the validation process?
There are things that I think people there's terminology that I didn't understand. Like Xbox had some stuff where it said you just need to do this and submit it, and I didn't understand if that was something that I didn't know the vocabulary that they were using, because they had certain terms for certain things that were different than Sony's and Nintendo's, of course. And no one really had any answers because it was such an obvious thing to them, you know. But it wasn't obvious to me at all. So it was frustrating in a way where I was asking really dumb questions because I legitimately could not find the answers to them. And I'd get responses quickly, and it wasn't a problem to solve. But it made me feel stupid, you know. And it's a weird kind of challenge where it's just this easy stuff that I should know, but you read the documentation over and over. Some documentation's outdated. Some documentation is for older OS stuff that is no longer applicable. It's a little bit of a mess because, like I said, I'm in this last generation of these consoles where they're on their way out practically because we're getting new consoles next year. And you have documentation up the wazoo, but at the same time, some of it's not applicable anymore or it has changed. And it gets, in a way, kind of confusing. So that's another challenge I think that I've faced is coming into the console market as a newbie, not knowing a lot of the terminology and not knowing a lot of the processes. And because, everybody at this point, all the big AAA guys have released console games. I think Days Gone is the last big game by a studio that hasn't released on this generation yet. So I guess for indie devs like us, it's different because there's a lot of new indie devs every month that are getting onto consoles for the first time. So it's weird. It's mostly just me learning the ropes and probably having to relearn it within a year or two with the new consoles coming out.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think that also, like, just because documentation is there doesn't mean that it's digestible or searchable easily. I think too sometimes, so it may not be entirely you having stupid questions. Things are not necessarily always obvious, even if you don't, know in the beginning.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and they can definitely be intimidating when you have a lot of new, you're trying to learn to work on a new platform technically, but you'll also have questions that are not technical.
Man, I think I said this on the previous podcast too, where someone walked into the club, and because we're on campus and it's kind of open, like we've had like software engineers walk in, we've had animation students walk in, that kind of thing. And I remember he was working on like robotics. He was like a mechanical engineer or something. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
asked me if I knew anything about state machines with the game I was working on. And I kind of looked at him and like sideways. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know what that is. And then I showed him my game, and he said, "Oh, you do? Oh, you're working on state machines." I was just so confused. And he explained it to me that it's basically just if statements. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I do that. Yeah."
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah,
It's a little more complicated than just if statements, but it's like there are all these terms, especially in tech, where it's just like, oh, I didn't realize that I knew what that was, and I was already doing it.
Yeah.
yeah, finite state machines are interesting too, but it's like actually that it's really just you have different states that you're swapping between. and and basically any like animation controller you've ever written for a character or anything like that, you're pretty much looking at something that's like a finite state machine, for those listening if you've never heard of that term. um
But yeah, jargon's stupid. William, what have you
Very
been
much.
working on?
Okay, so there's the we're working on a game this semester. for the arcade cabinets. So I just got it ready in time for Maker Faire. Carlo was helping with that earlier, actually. Yeah, so basically it's a game where you're flying a spaceship and there's like this black hole that is sucking in debris, and some of this debris has people on it that you have to rescue. So you have to fly your ship around and get close to the debris without like ramming into it, so you don't damage yourself, and like pulling the people off the debris and escaping with them.
That sounds cool.
Sounds like fun. What perspective is it in?
It's 2D. It's just I guess from the side, I guess.
Oh, cool.
Like yeah, third person.
It's from like the asteroids perspective.
Yeah, like the asteroids
Okay.
game.
Yeah, oh yeah, not the asteroid as in the rock. I meant the game.
That's the game I want to play right there. I want to play a game from the perspective of the asteroid.
Oh, you're trying to like pilot through space and like smash into Earth.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Andrew, let's go down the list here. Andrew, what's up with you?
Okay, so I have been working myself kind of painfully long hours the last 2 weeks because Maker Faire as well. I'm going to be taking my game Audio Zoe, which is an audio reactive first person shooter, down to Maker Faire with you and I are, I think, carpooling.
Yeah.
Is that right, Carl? Yeah.
Hopefully.
And so so I've been trying to smooth out anything that would be a rough edge for people playing it, even though it's more like vertical slicey right now. It's not like done in quotes, but like I want it to feel like a complete game in its vertical slice that I have. And I'm still working my day job, so
Yeah, gotta
all the
grind
fun
the hours
stuff.
out. Actually, this is a good question for David. You've done a lot of tabling and presenting games at events. What are your pointers for people?
Actually, this I haven't really. So we did Cooks Are Delicious 2 at PAX East. I wasn't able to go, so I had my team go. So I personally have not kind of exhibited it anywhere, to say that I've had people play it in front of me and gotten pointers. Um, I want to do that in the future for sure with our new game, and I'm excited about it, because that just seems like an awesome opportunity. That's something that I've never done before. But yeah, unfortunately, I have missed those opportunities. Hopefully, I won't miss them again.
Do you think you'd
So,
be at? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, no. In the past, I've heard that there have been indie game like different indie developers. I think Super Duper Garrett Cooper was doing this a while back, where he would actually buy the table and then let other indie devs use it as well, like buy the space. But like I think it could be really valuable, maybe even to get a bunch of indie devs and rent a space together, and like at a convention. Be kind of
That'd
neat.
be Yeah, like collectives. There are certain collectives at indie places, that you can kind of get into, and we're kind of exploring what we're going to be doing in the future for future expos. I'm bringing somebody on full time next week, actually, and they're going to be doing the PR. They're going to be running the community stuff. They're going to be looking at all that stuff, so I can just focus on the game making part, and that's pretty exciting. I want to be more a part of that. I'm a lot more outgoing now. I wasn't before. I was very introverted. I still kind of, and it wasn't until last year, because I would have these opportunities to go to GDC, and I kept putting it off, and I didn't want to travel. I had never really traveled by myself, outside of Texas, and it wasn't until last year that I didn't have a game that I was working on. I didn't really have much of anything going on, and I thought, if I don't travel to GDC this year, I'm never gonna leave. Like, it's just never gonna happen. And I did. I ended up going, and it was the most fun I had at that time. And so now I travel a whole bunch. I go to PAX West. I did GDC this last year or this last month, and I want to go back to PAX West. I'm going to definitely go back this year and planning some other trips, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'd love to just exhibit more and to be out there more and to be out at conventions more. It's fun.
Ooh, RTX is a good one in Texas.
I've never heard of that one. Where is that?
It's a Rooster Teeth Expo.
Oh right.
They're like a gaming a YouTube gaming thing. So they have their own
Yes.
convention that's gotten fairly popular actually.
Where is that? In Austin?
I think.
I also know that in Texas you can actually demo a booth at QuakeCon.
Oh really?
And you can actually demo a booth at DreamHack. Yeah, DreamHack. Because I know the Proteus dev team is actually doing that this year.
Really?
Yeah,
DreamHack
shout out to the
is in
Proteus team.
Dallas?
They're doing great stuff too.
I think that's in Dallas, right? DreamHack.
The
I
DreamHack.
think it is. I think it's DreamHack.
The DreamHack Stadium, right?
No, DreamHack's a big. I think it's a giant LAN party. Let's see, DreamHack.
They're building an
Dallas.
esports
Yeah,
stadium.
Dallas, exactly.
An
They're building
esports.
an esports stadium in Arlington.
That sounds lucky. Lucky
I-
you.
I-
Damn, I
don't know
want
what
that.
to make of it, really. It sounds crazy. I guess we're there now. I guess that's a thing you do now.
That's exciting. It would be, but it's kind of scary too, honestly, because given I don't mean to end up talking industry politics at all, but like given the the kind of the shutdowns of a certain company's game that they were pushing really hard into esports, like it's a little
Artifact?
worrisome that you like games kind of have a quicker cycle, I guess, like as a sport than something like
Soccer.
soccer. Yeah, thank you, soccer.
Which has
And
just
so
been
I
around
kind of wonder.
forever.
I kind of wonder. It's like, I guess if you have a stadium, the idea is that you can bring different games in over time. But it's kind of interesting. It's like if there's no one stable thing that you can always guarantee is going to be a game people are playing, does this become an irrelevant thing at some point in the future?
It's strange because so I'm 33, and I feel like games are slipping away from me because I turn on TV and I see on TBS it's like watch the esports finals, the Rocket League Championship only on TBS. And I'm like, what?
Oh
What
yeah,
is-
E-League.
what-
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is this? What is happening? And it's so weird to me that it's just a casual, cool thing now. And they're building stadiums, and there's games on Steam that have sold like 500,000 copies that I've never heard of. That I just found out of a game now that's a big smash hit with 50,000 sales, and I can't even think of the name right now. And it looks cool. And it's like I used just only like 5 years ago, I used to know all the releases every week because it wasn't hard. There wasn't that many games.
That's so true.
And it's splintered to where you got your esports groups and you got your mobile phone people and you got your casual game enthusiasts and your hardcore game enthusiasts. And my friend is a big PlayStation player. He plays PlayStation a bunch. He buys VR games. He doesn't know game news unless I tell him. It's weird. It's so weird that now, like, I feel like nothing's the same anymore, and that's cool. I think that's great. I like that the genres can exist now, that we can support these big esports things and stuff like that.
It's
But at the same thing, it's just weird. I don't know what to make of it.
yeah, it's like I even now you could it kind of brings up the viability of just making a game and targeting an audience. You know,
Yes.
like I think we we mentioned it with Witchbeam too, where it was like um people would make their games like it's an action RPG role playing something adventure, and that would mean absolutely nothing because they'd be trying to target all of the gamers when you don't really need to do that anymore to be.
It is RPG and roleplaying.
Yeah, oh yeah, it has both.
Yeah, you really can just be your own thing, and like your pitch is your game. It's like, hey, we made a theme hospital, or what's it called? We made that sim hospital. I forget what
It was the
what
one
it
where you
was
build
called.
your own hospital.
The
And
2 Point
it's
Hospital, or
yeah, I think
Right.
so.
It was that the one that was made by the same team that did do Theme Hospital? Am I
That
on
might
the
be
right
right. Yeah, and that's like their pitch. It's like, hey, we remade it, but now and it's great. And it's or I assume it's great. I think it's gotten a good reception. I actually don't know, but
Is it? I
it's
think it
that
might
kind of
be
thing where
Two
you
Point
can,
Hospital.
I think
yeah.
so, something like that.
Sorry, I figured we made a shout
No,
out.
no, sure. I'm just like
I've
your
only seen
pitch now.
like
You're right.
that's the
Yeah, that actually reminds me. The podcast, No Clip does a podcast, and they did one on this dev team. If you're
Really?
interested,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with No Clip, but
I am. They make
yeah,
cool stuff.
they do. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
Oh, William found
2
it.
Point Hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. So actually, I'm just gonna keep rattling off questions that I'm now remembering that I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
Usually,
fire mode.
no, usually they come in like when we're in the middle of streaming Cook Serve, because like we have another Sunday stream, and usually Cook Serve is almost like if we don't have a new game we want to play, it's like let's just put Cook Serve on the docket.
very good fallback. Yeah.
And as I'm saying, I'm simply remembering it. In the first game, you had a ton of indie characters in like the battle mode. What is the process you go through to get permission to use them? Do you just ask?
That was a cool process. So what I did was I was not friends with anybody on the indie dev side. I had at that time I hadn't really traveled anywhere. I didn't really know anybody. So I thought, let me get the 5 top picks that I can get, the 5 big huge indie stars, and if I can get those 5, I can get 25 more of the smaller ones. And I want to say the 5 were Spelunky, Rogue Legacy, gosh, what was it?
I'm assuming Isaac.
Risk of Rain, I think, and there were some big ones. Shovel Knight, I think, and
Lots of good choices.
You got
yeah.
Nidhogg. I remember you got Nidhogg.
Yes, I think Nidhogg was another one. Like I was getting the big mainstream ones first. It's because I knew if I could lock those down, then I could just go to the smaller ones. And smaller is relative, the smaller one being like Steam World Dig. That was big too. But I could go to them and say, hey, the Nidhogg guys and these guys and the Shovel Knight guys are going to be in my game. You should be in it too. And it was much easier to get it. The only person that said no, well, there was a few people that didn't get back to me, but one person explicitly said no, and it was Lucas Pope for Papers, Please.
Oh.
I wanted to use Sergey, and he's like, I think that's cool. Thank you so much for asking me, but I don't feel right having my character in somebody else's work. I feel an attachment to him, and I don't want to do that. And I totally respected that. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
least he
I
got
mean, what a
back
way
to
to
you.
say no.
That's true. Yeah,
Like,
no, it's true. At least
I
he
can't be mad at
responded.
that,
And he responded to you with not like just the word no or like yeah. No, it seems like a really respectful response too.
It was
I can
great.
appreciate that.
It was weird though. There's some where because we drew the characters and the Cuphead guys, they were like, we actually didn't really like the character that you drew, so we drew it ourselves. Here you go. Wow. Thank you so much. That's fantastic.
It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, like it was awesome. And then there's some guys, and I won't say who went through maybe 10 revisions before they were happy. And I'm like, come on, why are you doing this? And there's some guys that were like, yeah, you nailed it first time, boom. And it was funny, the FTL guys I wanted to put, but I didn't find any of their art online because it was all pixel art, it was tiny little pixel art. And I said, do you have any concept art I can use for the character? And they said, you can draw whatever you want and put FTL, and that would be good.
You put the ship.
Even we don't know.
Yeah, we let people decide what our characters look like. So we drew this weird alien slug in a helmet, and I thought, they're not going to say yes to this. They're like, cool. I'm like, okay.
I'm actually, could you in the Cook Serve Discord in like oh my god, what channel would it be amazing for you to post? Like the behind the scenes channel. You should actually post the original Cuphead where it'd be like this was gonna be in the first game, and they said no.
That was pretty funny.
Cause I'm really curious what they said no to. With like the proportions off, do you know? Like, did they give you a reason why they said no, or were they just like it's not good?
Oh, who said no?
The
Or which one?
Cuphead artist, Studio MDHR.
Oh, so we drew it because we wanted to draw these characters, but in a Cooks Are Delicious style.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And they ended up drawing it in their own style and then put their take on what it Cooks Are Delicious looked like. And it looked great. Like what you see there is what they drew. So yeah, it was, I need to find it. Maybe, I don't know if I have the rejected version, but what they drew was different and it looked neat. And I really appreciated it. That was cool.
Man, I don't think because you mentioned it, I realized I don't think I actually unlocked Cuphead. Otherwise, like, because there are so many characters in that list. I mean,
Yeah, there really were.
Oh,
Some of those
wow.
games still haven't come out, I think, and that's like a 5-year-old game now.
man, I remember I was like, because we went back to the first one and to look at the Battle Chef mode, and it was like, oh, you can't do mouse and keyboard because that was, I think, in the first one you had to use two controllers, and
Yeah,
we were like, oh no.
yeah, that was yeah. We definitely changed that for the second one.
Oh yeah, I went back and found the post you had with all the chefs. Oh my god, that's great. Like the one that they made, it actually it fits with the rest. Actually, I'm gonna post this in the
Yeah, could
thing.
you?
Man, I remember when Battle Chef came out. I'm like, oh, I'm so lonely because I didn't have
Uh-oh.
anyone to play it with. Uh,
Yeah, that's neat. I was really taken by that. It was
that's
cool. Oh yeah,
that's
they have
really
a
good. I didn't I know for sure I unlocked the super hot dude, and then I think the guy from Stealth Bastard Deluxe.
yeah. It was funny. There was one group. Again, I won't name names, but I had to sign a full contract with them, and I had to sign a bunch of forms. And you compare that with other people that are like, "Yeah, draw whatever, I don't care." Oh, that was it. The other top one was like Hotline Miami because I thought that'd be hilarious if I got the Hotline Miami guys. They were
Yeah, I saw the picture. That's amazing.
so yeah, it was cool. And like Raimi, he allowed Nuclear Throne and another one of my favorites of his, Loof Rousers, and that was fun. I deliberately didn't go that route for the second one because it was also very exhausting.
Oh, I
And
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't want to do another Battle Chef thing anyway. But I don't know if I would ever do anything like that again. It sure was cool though.
I'm just gonna say that if you do it, charge for it this time, please, because.
Well, a lot of them agreed only because I said up front, look, I'm not making any money off of your avatars. We're just going to this is a totally free update. I'm not going to even market it, like put your character in the marketing materials, except for like a few
Uh
I think
huh.
I ended up doing. But I think that was another big reason why the LI just said yes.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty, actually plenty of developers, though, even if you were making a profit, probably would be okay with it as long as it didn't, risk their IP
Sure.
rights or whatever. I think that I think it's just like it just depends on the company and the person
Oh, sure.
that
For
you're
sure.
asking.
Were these?
But
I'm curious. Were these chef drawings the new artists that also worked on CSD2, or were
I
these the
believe
original?
so. I believe so.
Because I was gonna say these look like the chef art looks more in line with the Cookserve 2.
I believe that's right. I want to say you're right because yes, by that time, Sarah was working somewhere else. So I had Camille. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think she drew all that.
Oh, yeah, the podcast people have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Iron Cook chefs in the Valor mode. But yeah, I mean that kind of transitions semi nicely into one of the actual talking points I wrote down, which is writing in games and how to handle storytelling. Uh, and actually, this is another question I have for you, David. Do you want to go through like the whole process of getting all of this flavor text into your game?
Well, Originally, I was going to write everything like I did it in the first game. I didn't quite write everything. I probably wrote 85% of everything. And some of the emails were kind of fan posts. Like, I think I had like a forum thread and be like, put your email here and I might use it. And with that, for CSD2, I was so involved with programming that I thought I can't write as much as I'd like. Um, so I ended up hiring two of the writers that wrote some old emails in the first game. Asked them if actually they emailed me and said, "Hey, I just wanted to catch up with you. How's things going? If you ever really need anything I'm writing, let me know." I said, "Well, it's funny you asked. I'd love to hire you on to this." And so I ended up giving more control to them than I think I was comfortable with, only because I'm very much a control freak. But my timeline was so bad that I thought there's no way I'm going to finish this game if I don't let them handle it. And so I did. I ended up writing maybe 10-15% of what you see in Cooks Are Delicious too. A majority of it was all them. It was Ryan and Nick, and they both had to create a workflow to where we had to come up with what was going on in the world, because a lot of those food descriptions and emails talk about a world that exists. But we had to make sure we had all the rules on this document. Like, okay, Washington D.C. is sunk in the ocean. Florida's in the ocean. This is on fire constantly. Texas is has seceded from the United States. Like, we're having to do all this, and there's a lot of information that's actually never stated in Cook's Serve Delicious 2, but it has to exist so that the world makes sense. Um, so we ended up kind of going backwards. We were writing things, and then I realized we need to make sure we're not we're making sense here. That this whole world makes sense as much as it can. I think there's the floating islands of Japan. I think Japan ended up sinking, and Canada has the new Japan. There's stuff that it's really cool, and I can say that because I didn't write. I didn't write nearly any of it, but we ended up coming up with this world that's something that I would love to explore more in a future game, even if it's not necessarily a Cook's Are Delicious game.
Oh, is this gonna be the David Galindo cinematic universe?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I love reading the flavor text, and some of them are just like, "Oh yeah, this is a soup. It was made with chicken and such." And other one says, "Oh yeah, this is a soup. It was made after uh, Japan sank into the ocean and everyone moved."
Yeah, some of that's my favorite. Like, I saw a post on Twitter, and it was like, "Here's a hubcap you can hang in your restaurant. It's from the ruins of Los Angeles." And you're like, "Wait, what?" Because you're hanging it up. Oh, thanks. Wait. It's like, just it was so much fun because people were slowly realizing they were cooking in the future. And there are still, if you don't pay attention to that, you would never know that. And I think if I was to ever make another Cooks Are Delicious game, I would put that front and center so that the people that read the lore would be like, "Oh yeah, I know what's going on," and other people would be totally confused, and it would be great.
I games with like monsterpedias or like just things that just have a bunch of flavor text that don't really mean anything to, like they don't really help you understand gameplay. Maybe it's like, oh, this one he hates fire, but the flavor text in games I just love for some reason. I'm not sure why. I just like getting immersed in the world. Like for Enter
I've
the
come to
Gungeon.
appreciate it more for sure. Like, I used to not like that.
Mhm.
I used to skip all the audio logs and stuff, but now if I'm really invested in the story, I'll seek all that out, and it's it pays off. Like, it feels good to read all that and understand the lore. And the last game I did that was, I think, Horizon Zero. That had some neat um, flavor text and stuff going on.
Yeah, I think Risk of Rain does that as well, and it largely centers around making you feel like a terrible person for slaughtering these things.
Oh, weird! I didn't
Yeah.
know. I hadn't read of that. That sounds cool.
Have you all had a chance to play Risk of Rain 2 by any chance?
Oh
I
yeah.
have.
I've
That
seen
game's great.
I've seen gameplay.
Yeah, it's terribly good. Like terrible for my time.
That's true.
Oh, that's fun. It's so fascinating how that 2D game translated so well into 3D.
I
Like they
know.
perfectly did it.
I remember playing the second one or the first one for a good
Yeah.
bit. And then I thought, okay, this is pretty fun. I like where they're going. And I saw I saw Northern Line playing the second one on his stream, and I'm like, wait, it just works? Like all of his
Yeah.
ability, all of his abilities were just there. All of the like
Yeah.
the starting Marine's abilities were just there.
Yeah.
All the shooting, all the items just there. And then they explored the world. I'm like, wow. I
When I
was really
saw the
impressed.
trailer for it, when they revealed it, I'm like, oh, what a mistake. Oh no, this is terrible. This isn't gonna work. What are they thinking? Oh, this is gonna be bad. And I thought, man, they blew it. They really blew it. And now it's like one of my favorite games this year. Like, I don't know how they did it. I really don't.
Do you
It's
think?
one of those games that reminds me like the biggest complaint I have about it is, can they make more content, please? I'll pay for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Early access?
Like that's not a bad complaint to have because it's not a complaint.
Yeah, it's funny too. It's like because obviously we like anyone who's like done any amount of game dev, even if it's just like even if you've only done one game because like you gave up, it's like there's a lot of work that goes into it. But at the same time, can you hurry up? Because I really want to play more of it.
It's cool. It's really cool, and it's a fascinating look at early access because my next game I want to do early access first. And that it's cool when a game comes out that's just awesome already, and it's early access, and they're doing it all really nicely with this roadmap. I'm still fairly new to early access. I don't really buy a lot of games in early access, but to me, they're doing it as well as I think you can. They're really doing a solid job on that.
Oh, here's some free consumer research for you.
Okay.
If
Ooh.
if an early access thing has a roadmap and they're actually meeting deadlines, that's like a huge plus.
That's a
Yeah.
huge red flag. Wait, no.
No, that's terrible. What?
They're on track for a release. No, thank you.
I want a train wreck. Uh, yeah. Oh, do you think you could bring Quick Serve Delicious into 3D?
you know,
You thought
I
about
don't know.
this?
I don't know. Because so I played a lot of VR cooking games and like the Diner Duo and stuff. And people have said you need to put Cook Serve Delicious in VR, and I'm like, they've done that already. Like a dozen games have done that, and I don't know what I would add to that because it's done.
Have you?
You can only do so
This
much
is okay.
in VR.
I'm gonna pitch you something because I've actually thought about how I would do this because what so okay, what if it's a food truck? So behind so like one way like maybe in front of you is like where you have to put the completed dish, and behind you is where you're making all of the food.
That'd be pretty neat. You wouldn't necessarily have to do that in 3D.
Oh, that's true. Well, maybe it's like the way that you have to like grab the ingredients and just put everything together would be kind of the selling point. Like it's not. I think. Oh, what are you talking about? That one VR game where you have to like cook burgers and then flip them and then like it's physics based.
Uh, isn't that all of them?
Oh, yeah, good point.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think it's the VR the Diner Duo is what I played,
Yeah.
and
What
even
if?
so much as like a Job Simulator is kind of the same thing.
Oh, yeah, a job simulator too. Like, but what if? Because what if it was more snappy? And I know that's super weird to think about in VR, but it's kind of like minimal input from the player, like maximum output. Like it's I mean because I think that's what like makes CookServe so amazing. It's that whenever, especially whenever it's like I love burger orders because burgers for some reason I don't know how you did it. It's ungodly where every key just makes perfect sense for the ingredient that I have to add.
That was a lot of beta testing. My crack team of beta testers really helped me out on.
And it's like and it's when I pressed like 7 keys and suddenly I've assembled like the greatest burger known to man. And I don't know exactly how that would translate to VR, where it's like maybe you just swipe your arms 7 times in the air frantically.
You just
You know,
swipe from
yeah,
ingredient to plate.
I don't think I'll ever come out of 2D. It's just too much fun. I don't know. There's
No,
a lot
I
you can do.
respect that. Yeah.
I felt that way for a while too, honestly. And then yeah, my current game is 3D. So
nice.
Yeah, I
Nice.
mean, but
Yeah.
I've been doing 2D for a while too, and obviously I don't think any of us are as successful as you, but for us it's like, wow, I could be making my own reality where like I'm the cool kid. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just
That
can't
would be
model, but you know.
It's fascinating. VR is always cool. It's just so I'm super excited with the Quest coming, Oculus Quest. I ordered that,
Oh
and the Vive, and I have the PlayStation VR, and I even have Nintendo Labo VR, and it's
did you get to
cool.
try the
But
Quest? Sorry.
I haven't tried the Quest. But I saw the reviews, and it sounds exactly like what I want. Where I'm not having to do cables. I'm not having to do base stations. I'm not having to power up my PS4. I just put on the headset and I'm there. That seems like the future to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
we'll see.
oh sorry.
No, just it's VR is in a weird place right now because I feel like the Quest is something that I'm so for, and then Valve came out with their headset that seems like the most uninteresting thing I've ever seen. Like it's literally
Oh,
Yeah.
that's hard. I don't know. I don't actually agree. But it's not
yeah.
about the headset anymore.
No,
But
I
okay,
Yeah,
get it.
it's the controllers, right?
yeah, it's about input. And like I think that VR has largely been hindered by its input, like
Sure.
over time.
Hmm.
Sorry.
I totally get it. No. I think if you're totally into hardcore awesome VR stuff, you're gonna like the Valve stuff. But for me, I'm kind of like I don't really have the space to be doing this. I have to move my sofa, if I really want to move it.
Yeah.
And it's
And yeah,
I guess someone without the money either for like an expensive PC and the headset, for the Valve Index to be $1,000, I'm like, I just give me
yeah,
the Oculus Quest, you know?
sure, yeah.
Like I'm in the
So
same boat.
I
Yeah.
tried the Quest at Oculus Connect last
How
year.
was it?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it has a couple of things that maybe were just not accounted for by the development teams, like the people with the games that were on there. And this was, of course, almost 6 months ago, so things might be different in their final hardware release. But the one biggest problem I see with that type of headset, and this is not really that big of a problem because there were some new things that were opened by it too. But like if you take your hands and you stick them behind you, you don't have base stations behind you and you don't have cameras on the headset behind you.
Oh,
So
Oh yeah.
so you have this problem where like there are certain things that are kind of interesting that you can do with object persistence that real humans do, like stick stuff behind you, be able to grab it. You can't really do that as effectively. You can fake it. You can totally fake it. You can make people feel like a superhero because they always grab it when they stick their hand behind their back and click the trigger. But like you can't like actually track behind you aside from accelerometer tracking maybe.
I never thought of that. That's a good point.
Okay, so my question for you, Andrew, I guess since you've had the Quest, is does it run at a good frame rate? Does it get hot? I mean, I don't know how long you tried it for,
They
but
didn't give us a very long demo, I'll be honest. I got to try it for
well, I guess it
about
was running the whole time anyway,
10
right?
minutes. I was playing super hot. So
Did
the
anything
thing I can
feel
say is
off?
I have tried super hot and I have tried on a Vive and I've tried it there. And I can say that largely it felt like super hot VR. So that's a big yes. It like works well. The things that you can't do are like put your hand behind you and really shoot something. Kind of like, so if you think about that, like that's something I like to do just because it made you feel like you were in the Matrix, even if it's not really like,
like aim behind you and
yeah, like just like there's an enemy behind you, let me shoot them. That doesn't really need to be a feature, but it is something that felt a little lost to me having come from normal super hot. The biggest difference I would say and this isn't necessarily a downside. This is actually an upside, but it's a downside with all the existing VR games, is that you're no longer tethered, which means you can literally go and walk through walls that used to be never a worry that you would make it to them.
Mm.
So
Oh my
like if you
god, you
take
can wall hack?
you can wall hack now. Yeah, like it's like in Super Hot VR when I spawned in or when I put the headset on, I think they had switched it from someone else, and I think that I for a minute or two I was inside of a wall.
Oh my
So
god.
like so I
I
was like walking around inside a wall.
I can't wait to just bring my Quest out to the park and just like run up to them and just like punch things.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of the cool part is I'm also curious though if it's going to struggle in big open spaces
Yeah.
because I have not seen anyone test that.
How does the sensing even work? Does it do bouncing off walls and stuff?
It's camera. It's got cameras, and I can't tell you all the fine details to be honest with you.
Wait, you mean a Facebook device or a device owned by Facebook has a ton of cameras and it's going to be in the living rooms of people everywhere?
Golf clap. But yeah, I think that honestly, I think you'll be happy with the purchase. I have an Oculus Go, and I'm happy with that.
Huh.
So but I mean, I don't have 6 degrees of freedom, and I bought it just to test my game on it because I eventually like when I started working on my game, VR was a major point that was like in part of my design specs.
Right.
And so I wanted to test it in something that had specs similar to an Oculus Quest, because I feel like the Quest offers a lot of very interesting freedom, and I think that it has a price point and like a simplicity point, like you said. I think David, I think you nailed exactly why it has a really good chance of being successful, which is that someone can just buy it. It has a big player backing it.
Mm-hmm.
Though right now is kind of a bad time to be Facebook, I feel like. But
Sure. Yeah.
but yeah, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I guess the original question though was 3D. Like, how does it work?
It works. I mean, like I can't say how many hours you get out of it, though.
Yeah.
I think the reviews online have done pretty good. They say it's like around 2 or so, I think.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I didn't get to try it that long, and I can't tell you how hot it gets.
Yeah.
But so it is a mobile device. Like under the hood, it's a mobile device. It's like an actual like cell phone. As far as like the kind of hardware it's using. So like certain types of shadery things don't quite work as well on it, and like anti-aliasing it's not super friendly to from like the developer side, but like you don't need that stuff to make a compelling experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So does it look good? It looks good. Does it look better than or as good as the Vive? Absolutely not. I mean, it just I think that as long as you manage, I think that if you came into the Quest as your first device, you wouldn't be getting a bad experience. Like I've long contended that like Cardboard and Gear VR were a bad enough experience that you should never let someone try them.
Sure.
Because like if you let them try them, they'll think VR is terrible.
Right.
That makes sense.
But like I think the Quest is good enough that I'd let my mom try that. I even think the Go is a serious refinement on the non 6 degree of freedom version of VR, and it's quite nice.
I just noticed I had the Facebook page still up from where I found your Tumblr post about the Battle Kitchen. You got Cuphead in your game 3 years before it even released.
Oh, me? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
So that was
I think, gosh, how did that even happen? I think I saw it on because it was only like a 3-second clip on a montage at an Xbox E3 conference,
'cause-
and everybody's like, "What is that game? What is that?" And from there, I think I don't know how long it took for Microsoft to pick it up. I want to say this was before Xbox was even a thing, as far as them making it exclusive. Yeah, it was a game that really stuck out to me that I really wanted to go after. I didn't think it would be so huge. but at the time, I just thought it looked so cool.
Honestly, if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, "Hey, I have Cuphead in my game. Buy it!" Like as soon as it came out.
Well, it's funny because I've seen we had some people where they were like, "We're going to put you in our game, your game in our game," and they ended up doing not what they were planning on doing. Like, and I get it, game development so like crazy now. There was one where there was going to be a city that you could be in, and we were going to have a little restaurant, and that none of that ever happened. Like the city doesn't exist. They just never got there. And so it's kind of neat seeing what some people's plans were that just didn't develop. And I'm like, man, I not so much that I wish it developed so I could have been in it, but I would have loved to have seen what they were planning because it sounded so cool. Anyway,
Be a little awkward if Cuphead ended up failing after.
Oh no.
I mean, but I think even more so. I think it's kind of cool. David is a direct predictor of success.
That's true. Wait, yeah. Can we put like our games in your games? if you fit in a David Galindo game, you just like you're set.
I
You've
feel like I'm
succeeded.
getting better at prediction stuff to the point where I can make a game and I'm like, this game won't be that successful, but it'll be successful enough.
Man, now now I'm so curious as to which of these games came out before you before they were released.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of them that like I think Ghost Song has barely come out. I think.
Oh yeah, wait, when?
I don't know if Honey Rose ever came out. It might have. I feel bad if it did. I
Oh, apparently
don't
Ghost
want to get
Song.
this wrong.
Ghost Song is like a band.
Joe Danger happened before No Man's Sky. Thing. Yeah, it was neat.
Ghost Song still has not been released.
Wow.
Oh wow.
What?
People
5
made it
years,
seem-
half a decade later, and it's still not out.
That's worrisome.
I mean, on the other hand, though, if you're a one-man team, there are at least a handful of
It's
games.
published by Adult Swim Games.
Weird.
Oh, that's
I'll tell you what, I am so done announcing a game that is not 6 to 8 months from being released. The next
Yeah.
game I'm going to announce, you're going to see it relatively quickly. In fact, I'm trying to streamline everything. I used to be very proud that I was mainly a one show with just the music and the art being outsourced. But now I'm trying to get as many people as possible to do all the work for me because I'm bad at like menu design. I'm not bad at it. I'm not good at it. And
you're serviceable, but it could be better, is what you're saying.
Right. Like Cooks for Delicious 2 has okay menus, but I could have done way better. And I only took a month to make them. And once I released the game, I was stuck with them because I'm not going to spend the development time to make better menus because at that point, the return, it's not, it makes more sense to make 5 new foods than it does to spend a month on making new menus because nobody cares, So now for my next game, I'm hiring a UI programmer and another artist specifically for menus because then I'm not restricted on, well, what can I do, with this menu? What's my limitations? Now I can just do whatever I want. And it's cool.
And then someone else gets to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much more freeing. And I took off like 4 months from my development time just to do it. Like I'm taking 4 months less work for me, so that's fun. This might be a record time for me to make a game for my next game. It's pretty cool.
So I'm kind of curious. I know you're not really talking much about your next project, but is it kind of like Cook Serve Delicious, where the idea is a little bit more, I don't know, like based on a real world concept, or are you doing something a little bit more
Fantastical?
this time?
It is much more. It is fantastical.
Is it cooking in space?
Oh my god!
Time travel Cook Serve?
No, not quite like that. It's a game where this is gonna sound weird. I have nothing to lose. This is how I'm making this game, and people are either gonna be like, "What is this? What have you done?" and they could either be excited or not having it. I don't quite know yet.
Yeah, that's. I understand. I'm building that game right now too,
really
and it's like okay with me because I have a day job, though I'm not doing like really great
sure.
financially. But
Oh,
like, if I'm finished with it, then it's like okay, I did this project and it's something I've wanted to do for a long time.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
like yeah.
sometimes you just have an idea and you just want to finish it. Like it's weird.
This next game is me to my weirdest, and I feel like I'm like I don't care. Like I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what, you're either all in or you're not, and I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I don't know. I don't know how this is going. I'm very excited though. I'm way more excited than I was at the start of the project because at the very start I'm like, wow, I'm gonna make this, and I'm not jazzed about it, but it's the only idea that I have in front of me that I know I can do. And now I'm just totally in it, which I didn't expect. So we'll see.
So I know you probably. I don't want you to actually give the ideas away, but do you have any ideas that you want to do but you can't? You don't feel like you can do per se.
Mm, not really. I have the next two games that I have planned are within my wheelhouse and things that I want to do. And the things that I don't know how to do, I'm learning to outsource that. Like the menus and stuff. Um, I used to, like I said, I used to be such a control freak, but I do want to eventually open a studio, and I know to do that I have to give up a lot I do, um, because I'm not. It's not. I used to think, okay, I'm not good at menu design, but if I keep doing it, I'll get better. But now I'm realizing will be people that will always be better than me doing this. Why not let them do it, and that way I don't have to worry about it. And that's just so freeing, and it's a privilege that I know doesn't come for a lot of people. Certainly I couldn't do that in my last game. That's just too expensive. But it makes more sense now because I can I have more direction and I know how to lead people in a way. So it's not telling them, "Hey, make a main menu for me." It's, "Hey, make a main menu and here's everything that it needs. Here's how it needs to work. Here's all the options, and we can get it down faster." And with that comes, it's cheaper.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's exciting. It's exciting for me because I'm starting to learn that I don't want to be a programmer that much. I'd rather just be a designer.
Makes sense.
That sounds. It's good though because you're getting to like kind of realize your.
Calling.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the right word for it is, but yeah, you're getting
I'll
to
always
realize
be
it.
a programmer. I always want to know how it works because I don't know if you know mud spin tires, I think it might be called on Steam.
Like
Uh,
M.U.D.D.
I don't know. It was a game where it had a thing where the car could get stuck in mud and you were like a tow truck. And I might be misremembering this, but the main developers, they weren't the programmers. They had outsourced the programming to another guy, and they had a money dispute. And the programmer ended up uploading to Steam like like a 1 kilobyte exe file that didn't have the game in it, and he essentially bricked their game and said, "You know what? You're not getting your game until I get my money." And they didn't know how to program. They had builds of it, but he broke it in a way where the company couldn't do anything without him. If I'm remembering this right? And I just remember thinking, wow, I can't be in that position where I'm depending on somebody to program. Like I have to at least understand the mechanical workings of it to where if I have to get in there, I'll program.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that's a scary thing to think about. To I want to focus on game design, but at the same time, I always want to have my feet in the programming pool, just for that reason.
I think that that's a good reason though. Like, it's a very very reasonable. It's kind of like I mean, I'm trying to learn right now more of my art stack as I'm doing this game because despite the fact that I'm a programmer, I think that it's really important for me to at least be able to clobber something together if I need something.
Spin tires.
Spin tires. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I have to look that up. I it might have been that game. Different. There's something. There was a point where everybody was locked out of their own game because of a money dispute.
Yeah, I think there's something about it in the development section.
Yeah, that was fascinating. That was a very fascinating.
That is.
Anyway, always know your product.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like just jumping back to the point about the game releases, I really love it when game developers are like, "Oh yeah, we have this thing coming out. Oh boy, when has it been releasing? In 2 weeks." Like, and everyone's just like, "Wait, what? What do you mean 2 weeks?"
That's cool.
When like didn't it happen with Skyrim? Or am I thinking not Skyrim? It happened with one Bethesda game. I don't remember which one it was.
Oh, it was it it's that mobile game, Fallout Vault or something? Fallout.
Oh,
Shelter?
the
I
Fallout
think
Shelter.
that came out the day of.
Oh,
What is it called?
yes. So okay, there was Fallout Shelter, and then they were
Fallout
making a Westworld version, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is that the one? Is that the right one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
That came out like that day. I like that. That's kind of neat.
Oh,
remember-
I remember okay, recently the Nintendo Direct where they announced Tetris
yeah.
99. I was so in.
Yeah.
That
By
was-
the way, it's available right now.
That's such like I really want to be able to do that. Like just get people so hyped for something and be like, oh yeah, it's available now.
like I don't know if I would do that, but I love the idea of, oh yeah, my game's out in a few months. But like even for me, that's crazy because I don't want to do any more hype cycle. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to, because I ended up announcing Cooks Are Delicious 2, I think a year or two before it actually launched. I want to say almost 2 years, and that's just so draining. And it's not so much I want to wait 2 years and announce a game. 6 to 12 months now, because even Cooks Are Delicious 2 took 3 or 4 years. I'm done making games that slowly. I do not like it, and it makes me nervous when people are like, oh yeah, I've been working on it for years. I'm thinking about releasing it in 2 years. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? You should be making 10 more games in between that. Like I slow development like that. I can't do it anymore. I can't work on a project for that long. I just don't have the patience anymore.
No, I respect that. I've been working on this project for a while now, and part of the reason is just because I do juggle it and like a day job,
Oh, that I totally get.
and like, and then on top of that, like I'm actually learning a lot of new stacks, I guess, as I'm going along. So if I had someone like doing art, it would drastically reduce the amount of time it would take me to make the game. The coding is kind of difficult for this game in particular because it has an interesting like
I mean, you really mentioned it's
slant.
sound based.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. It's odd. I was having to learn some audio programming, which was just not my forte. So even the coding side was pretty new to me for this project.
Yeah.
But overall, that came together a lot faster than the other stuff has.
It's so satisfying because this new game that I have, even my friends like, how do you have this up and running so quickly? I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but I'm getting faster development pipelines. You know, I know how to make a game quickly now.
I mean, it still stuns me that when you made the first Quick Serve, you really didn't know what you were doing with the programming.
Oh sure, I still don't.
That's why you want to hire a.
You know, I've come to learn something. I've always told myself and others I'm a bad programmer, and in a lot of respects, I have messy code. So I'll let you in on this exclusive news.
Ooh.
I was trying to get a Cooks Are Delicious 2 mobile port going, but I could not do it on my own. So I had another company look at my code, say, "Hey, check this out. Maybe you could port it for me." They're like, "You bet. We'll check it out." And a few weeks later, they're like, "Oh, no, thanks." And I
Oh,
thought they were going to come back with like, it'll cost you, hundreds of $1,000s. Because if they were going to say that, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
they just said
But
no.
they couldn't even put a price on it. They were like, no thanks. They didn't say it like that, but they were like, oh, you know what? Turns out we're super busy. I can't help you. I'm sorry. So,
Oh.
so my code is still not great, but I'm getting better.
Well, you know what?
Um,
There's at least one bright side. You know they didn't just take your code and run off with it.
oh sure, no, they're great guys, and I totally get it because I was even thinking, how are they going to do this? And they probably thought the same thing, like, how are we going to do this?
That's great.
So yeah, I don't think a mobile port's ever going to happen, only
Aw.
because yeah, I'm sad.
Oh,
But
we got
gosh,
the Switch port going. I don't know.
Get
Yeah.
Carlo on it.
Some sort of...
It's true. I do mobile game maker dev.
hey, all right. Well, it's more of a technological issue, like a hurdle, because it doesn't even run on anything that's under 3 gigs of RAM, which is almost all of the iPhones, because Apple's stupid, and I
That's
hate
true.
them.
You could thank you. You could limit it. You could limit it to just Android, and then have a cap on the OS. Like it only runs on like things with Android 7.0 or higher.
I'm just ready to move on, honestly.
That's
I
fine.
just don't want
That's
to
fair. Yeah.
Honestly, because I also would love it on mobile, but it's like because the first one was on mobile as well, wasn't it?
So the first one, I designed it with mobile uh, and I designed it specifically for consoles and PC in mind. And I thought, I'm going to make this to where I never am going to port this to mobile. And with that meant I could do holding stations. I could put 14 prep stations instead of 8 prep stations. I could maximize all this stuff. So by the time I did come to mobile, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot myself from ever doing a mobile port. So it's I would have to totally redesign the game.
Oh no, yeah, that makes sense. Honestly.
Yeah.
Also, I both love and hate you for having 14 holding stations in some of those levels because
Oh sure.
I saw because you also made a recent you made a blog post for Game Maker about difficulty and
Oh.
like how I think you brought up like the Zen mode and like the custom restaurant and all that.
Yes, that was fascinating. It was a fun challenge, and I learned a lot about accessibility and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Not to plug or anything, but people should check it out because it was neat.
I'll link it since we're mentioning it. But
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else you'd like to plug real fast?
Oh gosh, you haven't heard the last from me this year. I'll just say that. I have some
Okay.
cool stuff coming up. That's exciting.
Any events you're planning on going to before the end of the year?
I'm definitely will be at PAX West, and we'll see if I'm there to enjoy myself or be stressed out of my mind. But
Okay.
we'll see.
That
I've
sounds
actually never
fair.
been to PAX. How is it?
It's awful.
Okay.
Like I don't get it. I really don't get it. Crowded, and it's just not pleasant to be in.
Wait,
I'm
so
going,
why
though.
are
I
you
can't
going?
wait.
Yeah, wait, why? Yeah, no, I'm
No,
confused.
I thought you were joking for 2 seconds. Then I realized you weren't. Now I'm curious.
It's everything outside of PAX. It's the panels and the people that just having lunch with some of the developers and influencers, and it's that stuff that's fun. Not so much waiting for 2 hours to play Kingdom Hearts 3 or whatever the crap people like. It's just that's not fun to me. But everything around it is a lot of fun.
I think that's why I think GDC is actually one of my favorite conferences I've been to.
Oh yeah.
Of the ones I've been to, is just because it's all devs, and you can have a conversation with a dev pretty much just crossing the street at GDC. Yes. And that's like far more valuable in terms of just like the raw experience, I feel like, than I find like if I want to play games, I'll be honest with you, I just want to play them at home. I don't want to play your game at a demo booth.
Yes.
Like that maybe makes me really like a rare person in that regard. I don't think everyone's like that. I know there are people who stand in line to play demos, but that's just not me.
It's fun. yeah, there is a conversation you have with a developer that you never have with your average gamer guy. It's a cool, because especially for me, I live and in my area there's not a big game dev scene, so to go there and just be able to just talk is just so valuable. And I have that at PAX too, only because there's a lot of developers there showcasing or just there to have fun. It's like a mini GDC, but not nearly as interesting, but still fun.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to end up at PAX one of these years. Probably can't afford it this year, but might try it next year.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Well, on
But
that note,
It's
thank
weird,
you.
well, because I met Zach there at PAX Dev, and he's great.
Yeah. Electronics.
He's a great guy, and
Okay.
a lot of stories about Zach. But yeah,
To wrap up, could you tell us the story about like how you and Zach met and then subsequently like got food or something after
and what now?
and like he like cooked
Oh,
for
sure.
you? Yeah. Go ahead.
He my PR guy Eric said we're gonna do a little panel with Zach and Chris, and Chris King. He did 20XX, and Zach is from Zachtronics, Zach of Zachtronics.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, they were going to go to dinner afterwards, and so that's where I met him. And I think I mentioned something about not having, including okonomiyaki, and he's like, "Oh, you've never eaten that? Well, we've got to go eat that before you go." I said, "Okay, that sounds great. Pick a place." And so then the next day, he's like, "Well, none of the places that I want to go to will be open at the times we can meet. So just come over to my house and we'll have okonomiyaki. I'll cook it for you."
Dang.
I was shocked, and I just assumed that Zach knew Eric really well, or Chris really well, because he invited me, Chris, and Eric to go eat at his house. So I just thought I was, an invited guest. And on the drive up there, I said, "Well, Chris, how long have you known Zach?" He's like, "Oh, I just met him." I said, "What about you, Eric?" He's like, "Yeah, I've known him before until now." I said, "So we're just going to Zach, and we've only met him." Like, it blew me away that we were all strangers to him. He's like, "Yeah, come over to my house." So it was delicious, first off, and he's one of the most down to earth guys that will tell you exactly how he feels, and that can be very off putting for a lot of people, but I love it. I gave him a card with my next game on it, and he's like, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, it's my next game." He's like, "Have you announced it?" I said, "No, don't show anybody this card." "Well, I don't want this card. Don't give it to me. I said, "No, it's cool. You can have it." He goes, "I don't want it. No, get it away from me." I said, "Oh, all right." So he refused. He flat out refused it.
Oh my god, he refused you too. Oh
and
no.
and it didn't bother me because I totally get it. And one guy's like, "Well, what if it leaks?" I said, "Oh, that'd be awesome if it leaks, because then I could do a denial." And I said, he's like, "Well, do you want it to leak?" I said, "No, don't leak it. I'd be so mad if you leaked it." He goes, "Well, what are you doing? Why are you giving it to me?" So I'm like, "Don't you get it? Don't you understand?" I said, "If you left it like at a bar and somebody picked it up and they're like, 'Wow, I got the hot scoop,' that'd be cool. But don't do that. I'll be really mad." He had it with me. He was very frustrated. It was hilarious. I told him at GDC, because he was nominated for 2 awards, and I said, "Oh, when are the awards? The what is it? IGF awards?"
Yeah,
And he's like, "Oh,
independent
it's
gaming.
tonight." And I said, "Oh man, that's awesome." He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna." And I said, "Well, you're nominated for 2 awards." He's like, "Then we'll lose twice." I'm like, "You're crazy." I said, "I'm going to be in my hotel room, eating my burger, watching the thing on my iPad, and I'm going to laugh real hard if you win." And sure enough, eating my super duper burger, and I watched Zach go up there, and he told me he wasn't going to have a speech, and sure enough, he won. And I knew that long walk going up there that he didn't know. Really good laugh. And I really bragged him about it.
That's great.
It was pretty hilarious. And we really it was neat. I found out he had a love for Paul Verhoeven movies like I did, and so we were talking about things like that. And he said I need to watch Showgirls, and I'm like, okay, sure. I haven't seen that yet, and I love Paul Verhoeven. He made Starship Troopers and Total Recall and RoboCop.
Well,
I'll watch it. So after GDC, I looked for Showgirls to rent, and apparently you can't rent it anywhere for some reason. And because I do it digitally, I'm not gonna go to the DVD store. Does that even exist? No.
I don't think it exists anymore. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a
Well,
thing anymore.
We
I found it
actually,
on Vudu, like voodoo.com, but you couldn't rent it. You can only watch it free with ads. So I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So I'm watching it, and tons of nudity. In between that, ads for like Children's Hospital, St. Jude Children's Hospital, like totally bringing the movie down. I'm like, oh wow, this is so bad. Like just watching these poor cancer kids, sick kids, and then going back to like these.
Oh, those commercials are so mean.
And
Like,
it's so I had that in between, so that kind of tainted my viewing of Showgirls.
I love the puppy commercials that the like the animal rescue do, and then they play that song. It's like in the eyes of
Oh,
an angel.
like it was practically that, and it was a very surreal experience. Very, very. I had a lot of fun though. We had some good emails between just explaining like what else I should watch, on my list. So it's been fun. I'm looking forward to seeing Zach again. Hopefully at PAX West.
Zach's a really nice guy. Also
Yeah.
from experience.
He really is. Well,
yeah.
yes, he is in a way. Like I said, you have to know what you're getting into when you talk to Zach.
Yeah. But David, thank you so much for coming on the podcast with us.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
No problemo. So thank you everybody for listening to the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.